That little bitch, you can fuck with me if you wanted to. These expensive.
Free birthing trend on the rise, and it has medical experts worried. But for a small but impassioned number of mothers-to-be, the very idea of delivering their babies in a hospital fills them with dread. Free birth is a practice that rejects all medical intervention, including the presence of midwives at births, and usually spurns medical prenatal care, such as ultrasounds and tests. And they are increasingly worrying medical professionals because of the risk it puts both women and babies in. Dr. Michael Gannon, a practicing obstetrician and president of the Australian Medical Association, doesn't mince his words when he describes the free birth movement as a whole different level of stupidity. Sadly, I can't help but make the comparison with the fact that women in many parts of the developing world don't get to choose to free birth. It's normal, he told News.com. And in those parts of the world, maternal deaths are regularly occurrences. Why anyone in a developed country would take that risk beggars belief. The free birth movement doesn't have any midwives on site in the home. Sources Doc. There are no statistics on how many babies are born via free birth. However, less than 1% of women give birth at home, usually with a registered midwife. But thanks to social media and the internet, there is a flourishing community of free birthers who share information and promote free birthing to other women. For women who choose to give birth at home, many say they find the experience empowering and less stressful than being in hospital. Rachel, who asked for her surname not to be used, gave birth to her first 2 children in a hospital, and free birthed her youngest child at home almost a year ago. She says despite a longer labor 50 hours, compared to 14 and 9 hours, respectively, she was thrilled and is planning to free birth her 4th child, due early next year. I would take that labor over the other 2 any day, she says. There was no pressure, and I didn't have to worry about people coming in or feel pressure to keep things going. I was amazed at how calm and at ease I felt during the whole thing. It was the best thing in the world. Rachel says she turned to free birthing after she lost trust in hospitals during her first 2 deliveries, in which she says she felt bullied and coerced into certain tests and procedures, including an unwanted vaginal exam. At that point, I pretty much couldn't trust the midwife. More women are turning to giving birth at home than going to a hospital. Rachel says she's done her own research, including a risk assessment, and is confident that during her pregnancy she's still getting the best care even without conventional health care. At the prenatal appointments, Doctors want you to step on the scales, test your blood pressure, measure your belly, poke and prod, and these things don't actually mean anything, she says. There are so many interventions they do that are more detrimental than beneficial. While there are cases of safe and happy outcomes for women like Rachel, there have been a spate of tragic deaths of women and babies, who have either free birthed or gave birth at home and were assisted by a midwife or doula, in recent years. In June, Adelaide woman Lisa Baird was charged over the deaths of 2 babies born during home births. She is currently on bail and has been ordered not to attend or promote home births. The case follows the unrelated death of mother of 2 Carolyn Lovell, who bled to death during the home birth of her second baby in 2012. During a coronial investigation, it was found that attending midwife Gay DeManuel refused to call an ambulance despite Lovell begging for one. It was later revealed that DeManuel was present at home births in which 2 babies died. Free birth advocate Janet Fraser's third child died due to cord entanglement complications in 2009. Fraser described the emergency cesarean birth of her first child as birth rape. And in 2015, a newborn baby died 3 days after being born in a free birth in New South Wales, despite doctors urging his mother to deliver in hospital. Thanks to social media, women are becoming more aware of free birthing at home. Dr. Gannon says it's incredibly frustrating for doctors when avoidable deaths occur. We understand why women would be afraid of childbirth and not fully understand the reason for certain medical treatments, but to completely reject them is to bury your head in the sand. There is no other element of healthcare where people deliberately go out of their way to have a third world experience. Professor Hannah Dolan, an expert in midwifery at Western Sydney University, says it's easy to demonize women who free birth, but urges medical professions to question what role they can play in supporting women to avoid making less than ideal choices. In 2005, the World Health Organization challenged practitioners not to ask, why women do not accept the service that we offer, but to question, why do we not offer a service that women will accept? Professor Dolan, who supervised a 2012 study into women who free birthed, said, it was clear these women weren't deluded about the risk they took, but saw potential intervention in the birth, separation from their baby and abusive care providers as greater risks. Another reason is cost. Medicare doesn't offer a rebate for midwifery services during a birth, only for before and afterwards, which places the cost of a private midwife out of reach for many women. There are no statistics on how many babies are born via free birth. Up until the mid-20th century, childbirth was an incredibly dangerous venture for women to undertake. Since 1915, survival rates have improved by more than 90% in first world countries. Dr. Gannon says this outstanding safety record may give mothers to be a false sense of security and take unnecessary risks. I think it's utterly taken for granted, he says. adding health education and literacy needs to be improved so that mothers-to-be are well aware. Rachel believes medicine has lost the humanity of bearing children, and that is a huge appeal of free birthing. This is her rite of passage into motherhood, she says. And it can make or break her, depending on how she's treated. Our goal is for both mother and baby to be in optimal physical, mental and emotional health, not to simply walk out of the hospital alive.